Recently, I did something that many of you are preparing for or maybe even dreading. I sat the official IELTS test, including the speaking exam. And when the results came in, I got this: a perfect Band 9 in speaking. Now, if you want to achieve a high score just like I did, then I want to share with you today the exact blueprint for doing so. Hi, I'm Matt from SpeakPrac, and welcome to the Ultimate IELTS English Speaking course. In this video, we'll talk all about the IELTS speaking criteria. We'll discuss what the criteria mean and what examiners are truly listening for so that you can showcase your English speaking skills effectively. Plus, I'll also share how you can quickly estimate your IELTS band score based on that marking criteria. As you continue your IELTS journey, remember that this video is part of the Ultimate IELTS English Speaking course, and it's completely free. The Course Hub page for this is at speakprac.com/IELTS Speaking course. There you'll find the course structure, video lessons, as well as other resources that can help you. Check out the link in the description below as well as on screen right now. So, why is understanding the IELTS speaking marking criteria so incredibly important? Imagine you're playing a game, but you don't know the rules. How can you win? It's the same with IELTS. If you don't know how you're being scored, you're essentially flying blind. Knowing the criteria helps you focus your practice on what truly matters, saving you time and boosting your confidence. The IELTS speaking examiners use 4 criteria to assess your speaking, and each one is worth 25% of your total speaking score. Now, think of them as the 4 wheels of a car. You need all of them rolling smoothly to reach your destination, which is your target band score. And in my case, I fortunately and so happily achieved a Band 9 in all of those 4 key criteria, which then helped contribute to that overall Band 9 speaking score. Now you might ask, what are these big 4 pillars of IELTS speaking? They are 1. Fluency and coherence, 2. Pronunciation, 3. Lexical resource, which is just a fancy term for vocabulary, 4. Grammatical range and accuracy, which pretty much covers grammar. Now, when you see that list, it can feel intimidating. I get it. But this is the single most important moment to remember our core belief here at SpeakPrac, and it's one that I truly believe as well. Anyone can speak English. And that includes you too, my friend. These 4 criteria are not a wall to stop you. They are a roadmap to guide you. Understanding them is how you unlock your potential. So let's break them down one by one. Fluency and coherence, the art of smooth and sensible talk. First up, fluency and coherence. This sounds like 2 things, and it kind of is, but they're deeply connected. Now, what does it really mean in plain English? Fluency is all about how smoothly, continuously, and naturally you speak. It's not about speaking super fast. Think of a flowing river. That's good fluency. A river that's constantly stopping, starting, or getting blocked by rocks, that's what poor fluency sounds like. Too many unnatural pauses, hesitations like all the time, or self-corrections that break the flow. Coherence is all about how logical and easy to follow your ideas are. Are you answering the questions directly? Do your ideas connect clearly? Think of it like building with toy blocks. Each piece, which are your ideas, should connect neatly to the next to create a solid structure. If your ideas are all over the place, your block tower will wobble and fall. The examiner's checklist, what they're listening for. Speaking at a natural pace. You shouldn't speak too fast nor too slow. Just a comfortable rhythm. Keeping hesitations natural. Of course, everyone hesitates a bit, even native speakers. But it's unnatural or excessive hesitation that can be the problem, especially if it's because you're searching for words or grammar. Developing your answers. Don't just give one-word answers. Extend your responses, explain your points, and give examples. The length will vary by the IELTS speaking part, of course, but always aim to say enough. Using linking words and phrases, which are cohesive devices, naturally. Words like however, so, because, another reason is, can all help to guide the listener. But don't overdo it or use overly formal ones that sound out of place in conversation. This is key for the IELTS speaking criteria. Common pitfalls where test takers go wrong. Overthinking answers. It can be a problem when you try to come up with the perfect answer because it can lead to long pauses and can kill fluency. Remember that it's a speaking test, not an ideas test. Stopping too early in part 2. Remember, you need to keep talking for the full 2 minutes of the IELTS speaking part 2, or until the examiner stops you. Now here's another problem. Repeating the same ideas or phrases constantly. When you do this, this shows a lack of development and can affect coherence. Not actually answering the question asked. Now this is a big one for coherence. You need to listen carefully and make sure you answer the exact question that was asked of you. Bridging the gap. Band 7 to Band 8 insights. So what does this actually sound like in the IELTS speaking test? Let's make this concrete. Imagine the examiner asks you, why do you think traveling is important? Listen to this response. This is a typical Band 7 answer for fluency and coherence. I think traveling is important because it helps people to learn about other cultures. And also another thing is that people can relax when they go on holiday. Did you hear that? The speaker here answers the question and connects their ideas, sure. But there's noticeable hesitation to find words when they use fillers like and and the linking words are a bit basic and repetitive, like because and also. It gets the job done, but it's not seamless. Now let's hear how a Band 8 candidate might tackle the same question. Well, I believe traveling plays a vital role in broadening our perspectives. For one thing, it exposes us to cultures and traditions vastly different from our own. On top of that, it provides a fantastic opportunity to simply unwind and recharge, which is something we all need in our fast-paced lives. Can you see the difference? The flow is much smoother. Any slight pause is to structure the thought, not to search for the language. The cohesive devices are more flexible and sophisticated, like, for one thing. On top of that, the ideas are connected logically and developed with ease. And that's the leap from a Band 7 to a Band 8 plus. Pronunciation. Speaking clearly and naturally. Next up, pronunciation. This is about how clear and understandable your speech is. What it really means in plain English. When it comes to pronunciation in the IELTS speaking test, it's not about having a perfect British, Australian, or North American accent. Of course, if you've mastered any of these accents, then this can help, but make sure you're consistent with your accent. And please don't try to fake an accent. It often sounds unnatural and can even make you harder to understand. Pronunciation is all about clarity, Can the examiner understand your words easily without straining? This means producing individual sounds correctly. Word stress. Emphasizing the right syllable in a word. For example, photograph versus photograph. Sentence stress. Emphasizing key words in a sentence to convey meaning. Intonation. The music of your voice. How it rises and falls to show meaning, emotion, or to distinguish questions from statements. A flat, robotic intonation is really hard to listen to. Connected speech. How sounds link together smoothly between words. For example, I want to can sound like I wanna. The examiner's checklist. What they're listening for. Overall intelligibility. The IELTS speaking examiners ask themselves, can they understand you easily throughout the test? Accurate production of individual sounds. Are your sounds clear? Your and sounds distinguishable? For example, do you clearly say the word that rather than tat, dat, or even fat? When you pronounce right and light, are you pronouncing them correctly and not getting them mixed up? Appropriate use of stress and intonation. The examiners also check, does your speech have a natural rhythm and melody? Plus, IELTS speaking examiners also want to hear features of connected speech that make you sound more natural and less stilted. Common pitfalls where test takers go wrong. L1 interference, or when your native language gets in the way of you speaking English. Features of your native language can sometimes make some English sounds difficult. For example, if you mix up V and W, V and W, you may be pronouncing it like this. I wonder what the time is instead of I wonder. Or you might mix up P and B, the sounds P and B. So you have trouble saying the difference between pill and bill. Speaking too flatly or in a monotone way. Remember that a lack of intonation makes you sound uninterested and can be hard to follow. Another problem can be over enunciating every single word. This is when you overpronounce each word, and it can sound unnatural and break the flow, which hinders connected speech. Mispronouncing common words is also another big problem. When you say frequently used words in the incorrect way, then examiners won't be able to understand you, and it can be a problem because you repeat those words so many times. Bridging the gap. Band 7 to Band 8 insights. Let's put this to the test. Remember, it's not about the accent, it's about clarity. Imagine a candidate is trying to say the sentence, I think the third reason is really important. A Band 7 candidate is generally understandable, but some sounds might take the listener a tiny bit of extra effort to understand. Their intonation might also be a little flat, and it might sound something like this. I think the third reason is really important. You can understand the message here, but the th sounds are produced as t and d, which is a common issue. If you make these kinds of mispronunciations, then it may require a little bit of work from the listener. Now listen to a Band 8 candidate. They have much better control over individual sounds as well as the music of the language, the stress and intonation. I think the third reason is really important. Can you hear that? The sounds are precise, but more than that, did you notice the stress on third and really? That's sentence stress. It adds meaning and makes the speech sound natural and engaging. That control over the finer features of pronunciation is what separates a Band 7 from a Band 8 plus. Lexical Resource or vocabulary, your word powerhouse. All right, let's talk about Lexical Resource or as we all know it, vocabulary. This is about the words you use and how well you use them. What it really means in plain English. Now, lexical resource, or your vocabulary, is not just about using big or difficult words. It's about range. Can you use a variety of words appropriate to different topics? Think of it like a painter's palette. Do you have many colors to choose from or just a few? Precision. Are you using the right word for the meaning you want to express? Appropriacy. Is the word that you're using suitable for the context? For instance, you don't want words to be too formal in a casual chat, and you don't want to be too slangy, which means you don't want to use too many slang words. Collocations. Do you use words that naturally go together? For example, make a mistake rather than using do a mistake. Heavy rain is another correct collocation, but big rain is certainly not natural sounding. Idiomatic language. Using phrases or expressions naturally like a native speaker might. For example, you could say, oh, it costs an arm and a leg, or oh, I'm over the moon. But be careful with these idioms because you want to make sure that you're using them in the right context. The examiner's checklist, what they're listening for. Topic-specific vocabulary. If you're talking about the environment, can you use words like pollution, conservation, renewable energy? This shows your range. Using less common words accurately. This doesn't mean using obscure or strange words, but words beyond basic vocabulary. Paraphrasing effectively. If you can't think of a specific word, can you explain it using other words? Now, this is a great skill. Accuracy in word choice and form. The examiners will check whether you've used the correct noun, verb, adjective form, and meaning as you speak. Common pitfalls where test takers go wrong. Trying to force in impressive words. This often backfires. If you misuse a complex word where you use the wrong meaning, the wrong collocation, or you mispronounce it, then it's much worse than using a simpler word correctly. This is a frequent mistake when students misunderstand the speaking IELTS criteria. Overusing idioms or using them incorrectly. A few well-paced natural idioms are great, but stuffing them into every sentence or getting them wrong sounds very unnatural. Repeating the same simple words over and over. If you only say good, nice, bad for giving your opinion on various topics, then it shows a limited range of vocabulary. Bridging the gap. Band 7 to Band 8 insights. Let's look at an example. The examiner asks, what do you find satisfying about your work? A Band 7 candidate might rely more on common words and make the occasional small error in word choice. For instance, I like my job because I can help people. It's a very good feeling when I solve a customer's problem. Also, my work is interesting and the people I work with are very nice. Now, this is a solid answer. The meaning is clear, but notice the vocabulary. Help people, good feeling, interesting, nice. They're words that do describe the speaker's point of view, but they're very common words. A Band 8 candidate, however, will use more precise and less common vocabulary to express a more nuanced meaning. Now listen to this. For me, the most fulfilling aspect of my work is the tangible impact it has. There's a real sense of accomplishment when you collaborate with a team to resolve a complex issue for a client. That collaborative and supportive environment is truly invaluable. Wow. Did you hear the difference in word power? Instead of good feeling, they say fulfilling aspect and sense of accomplishment. Instead of nice people, they talked about a collaborative and supportive environment. They are using precise, less common, and more impactful words. That's the key to a band 8 or more in Lexical Resource or vocabulary. Grammatical range and accuracy. Building strong sentences. Last, but definitely not least, grammar, specifically grammatical range and accuracy. It's another two-parter. What it really means in plain English. Range. This is about using a variety of sentence structures, not just simple sentences. The examiner will check, can you use complex sentences? Sentences with multiple clauses like using although, because, which. Can you use different tenses correctly? Think of it like a musician who can play many different chords and melodies, not just a few basic notes. Accuracy. This is about how correctly you use those grammatical structures. Are your sentences free of errors, or are there frequent mistakes that make it hard to understand you? The aim is to have a high proportion of error-free sentences. The examiner's checklist. What they're listening for. Using a mix of simple and complex sentence structures. You don't need every sentence to be super complex, but you need to show that you can use them. Accurate use of tenses. Can you talk about the past, the present, and future correctly based on the questions? Can you even talk about hypothetical or made up situations? Control over grammar. The examiner wants to make sure that you make few grammar errors, especially very basic ones. For example, they want to check your subject-verb agreement, your articles, and your prepositions. The examiner is listening to see if your grammar helps or hinders communication. Common pitfalls where test takers go wrong. Making too many basic grammar errors. Mistakes with simple tenses, plurals, or articles can really pull your score down. Only using simple sentences is another problem. If you say something like, I like dogs, dogs are friendly, I have a dog, this shows a limited range of grammar. Trying to use overly complex grammar that you haven't mastered. This often leads to more errors and confusion, which is counterproductive for the IELTS speaking marking criteria. Systematic errors. These are mistakes you make repeatedly, often influenced by your first or native language. For instance, you might always miss your articles if your L1 or your native language doesn't use them. Bridging the gap. Band 7 to Band 8 insights. Let's demonstrate this with a final example. Imagine the question is, how has your hometown changed over the last 10 years? A Band 7 candidate will show they can use complex sentences, but they might make a few grammatical mistakes that don't block communication. Listen to this. My hometown changed a lot. They have built many new apartments. Although the new buildings are modern, but I feel it has lost some of its old character. Also, there is more cars now. Okay, so we see a good attempt at a complex sentence with although, but there's a common mistake here. You don't use but after although. There are also some small errors like there is more cars instead of there are more cars. The grammar here is understandable, but it's not perfect. Now listen to how a Band 8 candidate might respond using a wider range of structures with greater accuracy. My hometown has undergone a significant transformation. One of the most noticeable changes has been the rapid construction of high-rise apartments, which has completely altered the skyline. While these developments have brought in more residents, a consequence has been that the infrastructure is now struggling to keep up. The difference, as you can hear, is control and variety. This response uses the present perfect, has undergone, as well as a relative clause, which has completely altered. And there's even a complex sentence starting with while. The sentences for the Band 8 response are almost all error-free. That level of accuracy and flexible use of different structures is what examiners are listening for in a Band 8 plus performance. Okay, we've just unpacked the 4 pillars: fluency and coherence, pronunciation, lexical resource, and grammar. You now have the examiner's playbook. But theory is one thing. The real question is, where do you stand right now? You might have a number in your head. You might think you're a Band 6 or maybe a 7.5, but is that just a guess? To truly improve, we need a data-driven baseline. So for the next few minutes, we're going to do something incredibly practical. We're going to find out what is your current IELTS speaking band score. And we're going to use the SpeakPrac app to do it. The SpeakPrac app has a feature that I call the Instant Band Score Estimator. It's more than just an IELTS speaking score calculator. And what it does is it analyzes your speech against the very criteria we just discussed to give you a detailed breakdown of your performance. Now, before we jump in, I want to share a powerful methodology that you can use with the app. It's called the Power of 3. There's fascinating research in applied linguistics, particularly from researchers like Bowers and DeConnick, that shows massive fluency gains when learners repeat a speaking task 3 times. Not only that, by doing it 3 times, you can get a clearer picture of the average IELTS speaking band score you can potentially get. The first time you speak, your brain is working hard just to find the words and structure. The second time, after getting feedback, you start making conscious improvements. But that third time, now that's where the magic happens. The new vocabulary, the smoother connections, they start to become automatic. You're moving from conscious effort to subconscious skill. So let's put this power of 3 to the test. Grab your phone, open SpeakPrac, and do this along with me. Or just follow along for now and see how it works. Alright, I'm in the app. I'm going to pick an IELTS Part 1 question. Let's go with this one. Are there any hobbies that you find relaxing? I'm going to give my first response now. I'll try to answer it, but I'll make a few common mistakes deliberately, like some hesitation and the use of simple vocabulary, so we can see what a typical Band 6 response looks like. Yes, I have some hobbies that are relaxing. I like to read books because it helps me to forget about my problems. Also, I sometimes do gardening. It is nice to work with plants and flowers. These hobbies make me feel good. Okay, the SpeakPrac app gets to work. It analyzes your speech and the analysis is instant. And here we are. The app has given me an estimated IELTS Band 6. But this is the crucial part. You're not just given an IELTS band number. The SpeakPrac app also gives you the why. Let's check out the details. Look at this. The app breaks down my performance based on my key speaking fluency metrics. Words per minute, or WPM. As you can see, mine was a bit low, which the SpeakPrac app flags as affecting fluency. Pauses per 100 words, or PHW. As you can see, I had a few too many unnatural pauses, likely where I said and ah. Average pause duration, APD. As you can see, my pauses were a little long there, which broke the flow. And here is the absolute game changer. The AI gives a justification for the IELTS band score, explaining why it's a 6.0. And then it provides 3 actionable speaking tips to focus on. This becomes my roadmap. The SpeakPrac app has told me exactly what to do to improve. So for my second attempt, I'm going to focus on using better linking words and trying to reduce those long pauses. I'll also try and enhance my vocab and grammar. Now, in order to do a second attempt, you can actually just use the big speak button right there in the bottom menu. I have several hobbies that I find incredibly relaxing. For instance, reading is something I turn to when I need to unwind after a stressful day. What I particularly enjoy about it is how it allows me to escape into different worlds. What's more, I'm quite passionate about gardening, which I find therapeutic because there's something deeply satisfying about nurturing plants and watching them grow. And let's see. Wow! Just by focusing on improving my speaking based on the SpeakPrac feedback, my score has jumped to an IELTS band 7.5. And you can see the metrics reflect the improvement. My words per minute is up and my pauses are down. This is the power of targeted practice. Now for the final step, the third repetition. This is where we lock in the learning. Again, you can press the big speak button to start speaking. Without a doubt, I have a couple of hobbies that serve as my go-to stress relievers. Mainly, I'm drawn to reading because it provides an immediate mental escape. I can literally lose myself in a compelling narrative and forget about daily pressures. Secondly, I've developed a genuine love for gardening, which I find profoundly meditative. There's something almost therapeutic about the rhythm of planting, watering, and tending to plants. Okay, now for the final result. Bam! There you go, band 8.5. Look at that progression. From a 6 to a 7.5, and now an IELTS Speaking Band score of 8.5, simply by understanding the criteria, getting a baseline, and applying targeted feedback. That is the power of 3 in action. We didn't just practice, we practiced with purpose. The app gave us the data and the direction, turning a frustrating process into a clear step-by-step path to improvement. The 2 sides of a powerful speaker. All right, so let's start by getting one thing crystal clear. What are fluency and coherence? The examiner scores them together, and it's helpful to think of them as a car and the roadmap for its journey. Fluency is the car. It's your ability to move forward at a good and natural speed. It's about a smooth ride without constantly stalling, sputtering, or slamming on the brakes. Now notice I said stalling. Every driver, of course, has to slow down for a turn or pause at a junction. That's completely normal. Fluency isn't about driving at 100 miles an hour non-stop. It's about forward momentum. Think of it like that smooth drive, not a car that keeps breaking down. Coherence, on the other hand, is the roadmap. It's the plan that shows you where you're going. It's the logic that connects your starting point to your destination, and it makes sure that your listener, which is your examiner, can follow your journey without getting lost. It's about making sure your trip makes sense. Many students make the mistake of focusing on just one of these. Some try to speak very fast for fluency, but their ideas are all over the place. That's like a fast car with no roadmap, just driving aimlessly. Others have a perfect route planned, but their speech is slow and hesitant. That's a beautiful roadmap, but a car that stalls every few feet. To get a high score, you need both. You need the smooth driving car and the clear roadmap, the fluency traps and how to escape them. So how do we build that smooth flowing fluency. The first step is to recognize the two main traps that cause those unnatural IELTS score-killing hesitations. I call these traps the grammar trap and the content trap. First, the grammar trap. This is when you're so focused on getting every single word and every single tense perfect that you start over-analyzing in real time. You're mentally searching for the perfect vocabulary word or grammar structure, and your speech becomes slow and full of pauses. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine a world-class chef. When they're in the middle of a busy dinner service, are they reading the recipe for the first time? Of course not. They've practiced it so many times that the process is second nature. They can cook with flow and creativity because the hard work of learning was done before the service began. Your IELTS speaking test is like this dinner service. Your preparation time is when you practice your recipes. In the test, you have to trust the practice you've already done. Constantly worrying about grammar and vocabulary during the test won't improve your score for those criteria. But it will absolutely sink your fluency score if you just keep thinking about and worrying about them. The second and even more common pitfall is the content trap. This is when you hesitate because you're desperately trying to think of the right answer, a smart answer, or a true answer. Let's be very clear about this. The IELTS speaking test is not a knowledge test, and it is not a lie detector test. The examiner doesn't care if your favorite color is actually blue, or if you truly believe that museums are the cornerstone of modern society. They don't care about those things. They only care about how you express your ideas in English. So if they ask you a question, the first simple idea that pops into your head is good enough. Feel free to exaggerate, to simplify, or even to make things up completely if it helps you speak more fluently. Think of yourself as an actor playing a role. The role of a confident English speaker. The actor isn't lying, they are performing. And that's exactly what you should do for your IELTS speaking test. Now I know overcoming these mental blocks takes practice. The secret to coherence you already know. Okay, so we have fluency, which is like a smooth driving car. Now what about coherence, the roadmap that gives us our direction? How do we make sure our answers are logical and easy to follow? Well, the most important thing to realize is that coherence isn't something you have to invent from scratch. It's already inside you. Just think about it. When you speak in your native language, whether it's Portuguese or Spanish or Mandarin Chinese or whatever, you're naturally coherent. You know how to tell a story. You know how to explain your opinion. The ability of coherence is already there. Anyone can speak English, and the challenge is just accessing that natural ability under pressure. I also have some great news for you. If you've been following along in this Ultimate IELTS English speaking course, then you already have the ultimate tools for coherence. We just need to remind ourselves how to use them. Let's look at how our frameworks for IELTS Speaking Part 1, 2, and 3 automatically build coherence into your answers. Remember IELTS Speaking Part 1? We talked about the ARE framework, or R, and use that when you talk about who are you. You answer the question, give a reason, then provide an example or explanation. This isn't just a formula for extending your answer, it's a recipe for coherence. It's a naturally logical structure. You make a statement, you explain why, and you provide proof. It guides the listener's brain effortlessly. Then we have part 2, our 2-minute talk, and I suggest that you use the topic diamond for this. Just like a diamond, you have 4 key points. We talk about the past, then the present or a description, then the future, and finally our opinions or feelings. This structure creates a compelling narrative. You're not just listing random facts, you're telling a story that moves logically through time. It's an incredibly coherent way to organize a longer talk, and it makes sure that you never get lost in what you're saying. And for the abstract questions in part 3, we have the powerful IDEA framework or idea framework to help you express your own ideas. You state your main idea, develop it and explain it, give a specific example, acknowledge an alternative viewpoint. This framework is the gold standard for a well-structured, coherent argument. It shows the examiner that you can not only state an opinion, but also support it with logic and evidence. And you can even consider others' perspectives. So you see, you don't need to learn a new, complicated system for coherence. You just need to trust the frameworks we've already covered. They have coherence built right into their DNA. The glue. Using signposts naturally. Now, if our frameworks are the building blocks of a coherent answer, then signposting language or linking words is the glue that holds them together. Think of signposts as the road signs for your listener's brain. When you say a word like because, so, for example, or however, you're giving a little signal that says, hey, turn left here, I'm about to give you a reason. Or, get ready, an example is coming up. But here's the key. You must use them naturally. So many students learn long lists of formal, academic linkers like moreover, furthermore, and with regard to. In a normal conversation, nobody talks like that, unless it's a very formal academic speech. Using those words in the speaking test can make you sound robotic and actually hurt your score if you speak too formally. Stick to simple conversational signposts. Instead of moreover, try also, or and another thing. Instead of for instance, try like, or for example. Instead of in contrast, try but, or on the other hand. The goal here is to sound like you're having a natural, intelligent conversation, not reading a formal essay. Your action plan for fluency and coherence. All right, we've covered a lot. So what are the practical steps you can take starting today? Here's your action plan. 1. Talk, talk, talk. This is non-negotiable. You can't improve your speaking fluency by thinking about fluency. You must move your mouth. Find a speaking partner, join a conversation club, or even talk to yourself. 2. Record and analyze. Use the voice recorder on your phone, or use the specialized recorder that we've made in our SpeakPrac app. Then pick an IELTS question. Speak for a minute or 2, and then listen back. Listen for those unnatural hesitations. Were you stuck in the grammar trap or the content trap? What we've done in our own SpeakPrac app is we've made it really easy for you to see how many hesitations you're unnaturally making within a speech. we count for you how many pauses you make and how long those pauses are on average. In addition to that, we figure out how many words per minute you're speaking, and we can compare that to the fluency of a native speaker. This helps as a benchmark, and really becoming aware of your own speech patterns is the first step to fixing them. 3. Practice with frameworks. Don't just learn the ARE, Topic Diamond, and IDEA frameworks. Use them. Do timed practice for all 3 parts of the test until using these structures feels completely natural and automatic. Your fluency baseline, the first attempt. Alright, let's start with a simple freestyle practice. This will give you a baseline, a starting point to measure our improvement against. In the SpeakPrac app, there's a bottom menu bar. You'll see a big orange button that says Speak. This is for freestyle practice where you can talk about anything. I'm going to give you a common IELTS Part 1 question. I'll show it on screen, and your job is to tap that Speak button and answer it. Don't overthink it, don't worry about being perfect, just speak. The question is, tell me about the town or city you live in. You have 30 seconds to speak, just like in the real IELTS speaking exam, and when you're done, tap the stop and save button. Pause this video so you can start speaking, and then come back to the video so that you can find out what to do next. Ready? Find that speak button in the SpeakPrac app and go. Okay, time's up. Tap the stop and save button. The app will now analyze your speech. Now look at your screen. This is where the magic happens, so you can improve your IELTS speaking fluency score. Now these numbers here are the key to understanding and improving your fluency, and let's break them down. First, you have WPM, or words per minute. This is your speech rate. Think of it as the speed of your car. For natural conversational English, like in the IELTS speaking test, a good target is between 120 to 150 words per minute. If you speak too fast, then you might lose clarity. If you speak too slow, then it can sound unnatural. Next, you'll see the PHW, or pauses per 100 words. This measures how often your car sputters or stalls. A high number here means you're hesitating a lot, probably searching for words or grammar. Finally, there's APD, or average pause duration. This measures how long your pauses are. Short, natural pauses, of course, are fine. Everyone uses them to breathe or think. But long, awkward silences can really hurt your fluency score. So take a look at your fluency numbers. This is your starting point. Don't judge it too harshly, just be aware of it. Now let's see how we can improve both our fluency and our coherence. The coherence blueprint, using the improved transcript. Now scroll down on your results screen. You'll see your speech has been transcribed. Notice the 2 tabs, the original transcript and the improved transcript. Tap on improved to see your improved transcript. Now this isn't just grammar correction. This is your AI-powered roadmap. It shows you a more coherent way to structure your answer. Look at how the sentences connect. See the natural linking words. This is how you guide the examiner logically from one point to the next. Now tap the play icon next to the improved tabbed title.
I live in Sydney and I absolutely love it here. There's so much to see and do, plenty of shops, cafes and tourist spots to explore. I really enjoy checking out the local markets and landmarks.
Listen to that. That's the sound of fluency and coherence working together. The pacing is natural and the ideas are clear. This is the standard we're aiming for. But how do we get there? I'm going to share a powerful technique backed by linguistic research. The power of repetition. There's a fascinating study on language learning by Bowers and DeConnick, who are experts in linguistics. They found one of the most effective ways to build fluency is just simple, structured repetition. The core idea is that when you talk about the same topic again, your brain doesn't have to search for the ideas or the basic vocabulary. It's already warmed up. This frees up your mental energy to focus on how you're speaking, so that you speak smoother and faster and with better connections. So let's do that. We are going to answer the exact same question again. Tell me about the town or city you live in. We'll use the SpeakPrac app once more, but before you start, look at your fluency metrics from the first attempt. You can see that on your results screen, or you can go to the recording screen and you'll see a list of all your recordings, including your most recent one. After you've looked at your past fluency metrics, your goal for this second attempt is to improve them. Maybe increase your words per minute by 5, or you could lower your pauses per 100 words by 1 or 2. Are you ready? Go back to that bottom menu bar and get ready to hit that speak button. You have 30 seconds on the clock. Pause this video, talk for 30 seconds, and then press the stop and save button. Go! All right, stop. Now look at your new set of fluency metrics. Put them side by side with your first attempt. You can easily do this by going to the recording screen, and you'll be able to see your most recent recording as well as the one you did before that. When you open up those tabs of each recording, you'll be able to see each of their fluency metrics and then compare them. Ask yourself, did your words per minute go up? Did your pauses per 100 words go down? Maybe your average pause duration got a little shorter. Just look at that. That's you, improving in real time. And this is why I'm so passionate about this, because it proves that with the right tools and the right technique, anyone can speak English. This, my friends, is the power of active, measurable practice. You just saw your fluency improve in under 5 minutes. And you can use this repetition technique with any question in the app. You can practice with a question from the topic screen, then check your metrics, and next hit the speak button on the bottom menu bar to do it again and track your improvement. And you don't just have to use the questions from the topic screen. You can use any IELTS speaking question you want, and all you have to do is just press the big orange speak button in the menu bar to speak about anything you want. Once you're done, check your fluency metrics and press that speak button again to do the repetition technique to try and improve your fluency. Now, this simple loop of speak, analyze, improve is one of the fastest ways to build the muscle memory you need for high band fluency and coherence. And I like to call this loop the SpeakPrac Cycle, because your speaking practice moves in an ongoing cycle of improvement. Let's get one huge myth out of the way right now. Pronunciation for the IELTS speaking test is not about getting a perfect British, Australian, or North American accent. Let's be crystal clear. The IELTS test doesn't grade your accent. It grades your clarity. Can the examiner understand you easily and without effort? That's the real goal. Now, that said, does learning a specific accent help? Yeah, of course it can, but maybe not for the reason you think. When you learn from a specific pronunciation model, say a standard American or British accent, you're not just learning the accent itself. You're learning a consistent and predictable system of sounds, rhythm, and intonation. This consistency is what builds the clarity. That brings us to a crucial tip. Be consistent with your accent. Imagine hearing someone pronounce one word with a very American sound and the very next with a strong British sound. It can create a slight jarring or unpredictable rhythm for the listener. So the takeaway isn't that you must have a certain accent, but that you choose a model you like, and sticking to it is a powerful strategy for sounding clear and coherent. With that foundation in place, let's break down the 4 essential pillars of high-scoring pronunciation. We'll move from the absolute basics of being understood to the advanced techniques that make you sound natural, fluent, and impressive. There are 4 factors that can help you achieve great pronunciation. Factor 1, the foundation of clarity, your vocal blueprint. Think of your pronunciation like building a house. Before you can paint the walls and add fancy furniture, you need a rock-solid foundation. In pronunciation, that foundation is clarity. It's the simple, non-negotiable goal of being understood. If the IELTS speaking examiner has to strain to understand your words, it's like trying to read a blurry document. It doesn't matter how great your ideas are, the message gets lost. So how do we build this foundation of clarity? The secret is to stop thinking about pronunciation as a purely mental exercise, like memorizing grammar rules. Remember that pronunciation is physical. Think of your mouth, tongue, and lips as a musical instrument. The air coming from your lungs is the breath, and the way you shape your mouth creates the different notes, or in our case, sounds. To play the instrument of the English language correctly, you need to learn the right physical movements. Your number 1 tool for this is the phonemic chart. Now don't panic. I know this looks like a secret code from an ancient language, but trust me, this is your map to every single sound in English. Each symbol represents one sound. Once you can produce these sounds, you can say any word in English clearly. When you learn a new word, don't just learn its spelling. Look up its pronunciation in a good dictionary that should include its phonemic spelling or IPA, which means the International Phonetic Alphabet. There are also some online dictionaries where you can listen to how these English words are said. Then you can use a mirror and practice the physical shape of your mouth to make each sound. Now, learning all of the phonemic symbols or the IPA can be a bit daunting, and so I've actually made a resource of flashcards to help you memorize those main English sounds so that you can hear those sounds, but as well as that, you can then produce those sounds with your mouth. These flashcards leverage the power of spaced repetition so that you can memorize these sounds over time and you can focus on your weakest areas. The pronunciation gym, training with minimal pairs. But what about those tricky sounds that sound almost identical? The ones that can completely change the meaning of a word, like the difference between I saw the ship and I saw the sheep. This is where a powerful training tool comes into play. Minimal pairs. Minimal pairs are your personal pronunciation gym. They are pairs of words like live and leave, bat and bet, or very and bury. And as you can hear, these pairs of words are separated by just one single sound. Practicing these minimal pairs can be crucial for 2 reasons. First, it trains your ear. We call this auditory discrimination. You have to be able to hear the difference before you can produce the difference. By listening to minimal pairs over and over, you are tuning your ear to the specific frequencies of English, whether you're focusing on a British, American, Canadian, or Australian accent. Second, minimal pairs train your mouth. When you practice saying ship, sheep, ship, sheep, you are isolating the tiny physical change needed for that one sound. For this pair, it's the difference between a short, relaxed vowel, I, and a long, tense vowel, where the corners of your mouth pull back slightly, I. This is like a micro workout for your tongue and lips. This is one of the most effective forms of IELTS speaking pronunciation practice you can do. So find lists of minimal pairs online that target the sounds you struggle with. And I've actually also got some minimal pair flashcards for different English accents, so they'll really help you if you're looking for them. And what you can do with these minimal pairs is to listen to them and then record yourself saying them. Then ask yourself, can you hear the difference in your own recording? Now I know this part can feel like the hardest work. It can feel slow and even a bit frustrating. But this is where you build the real lasting skill. It's not about being born with a good ear or a talent for accents. It's about training, just like an athlete. Because the truth is, anyone can speak English. It's just a matter of teaching your muscles the right moves. You have the instrument, my friend. We're just learning how to play it. So mastering these individual sounds, especially through minimal pairs, is a cornerstone of building that foundation of clarity. Clarity is so important for the pronunciation section of the IELTS speaking test. Once you have that, we can start adding the layers that will really boost your score. Factor 2, the spotlight effect, word and sentence stress. Okay, so you're making clear sounds. Fantastic. But now we need to give your speech life and meaning. This is where we introduce the music of English. And our first musical element is stress. Think of stress as a spotlight on a stage. In any sentence, some words are the main actors and others are the supporting cast. We use stress to shine a spotlight on the most important words, the ones that carry the meaning. Let's take a simple sentence from an IELTS Part 1 question. Do you work or are you a student? A flat robotic answer might be, I am currently studying economics at university. Wow, that really is flat. Every word gets equal weight there. It's clear, but it's lifeless. Now let's use the spotlight. What are the key pieces of information here? Probably studying, economics, and university. Listen to the difference. I'm currently studying economics at university. Hear that? The stressed words are slightly longer, louder, and higher in pitch. This tells the listener, hey, pay attention to these words. This is the important stuff. This works within words too, and it's called word stress. Similarly, it works across sentences, where it's called sentence stress. Getting this right is one of the biggest leaps you can make. It shows the examiner that you don't just know words, you understand how to use them to communicate meaning effectively. So from now on, when you listen to native English speakers, don't just listen to what they say, listen to how they shine the spotlight. Which words do they emphasize? Factor 3, the secret handshake, rhythm and connected speech. Are you ready for the next level? This is where we learn the secret handshake of native speakers. It's the thing that makes them sound so smooth and connected. And it's called rhythm, which is created by connected speech and weak sounds. In conversational English, we don't pronounce every single word perfectly and separately like beads on a string. Instead, words flow together and link up like a flowing river. English words can connect together like a secret handshake. Let me show you. An English learner might say, "What are you going to do this weekend?" A native speaker, on the other hand, would naturally compress and link it all. It sounds more like this, with a strong Aussie accent. "What you gonna do this weekend?" See what happened? What are you became whatcha. Going to became gonna. And this isn't slang. It's a natural feature of spoken English. We weaken the unimportant grammar words like are, to, are, so we can put more energy on the important spotlight words. The most common weak sound is the schwa sound, a soft sound. It's the most common sound in English. Words like to, for, a, the, they often get reduced to this weak sound in fast speech. To becomes t, for becomes f, a becomes and the becomes the. For example, I'm going to the store becomes I'm going to the store. Now, mastering this rhythm is a core part of advanced IELTS speaking pronunciation practice. It'll make you sound incredibly natural and fluent. The key is to start noticing it. Listen for how words crash into each other and link up in your favorite movies or podcasts. Factor 4, the color of your voice, intonation. We've built our foundation of clarity, we've added the spotlight of stress, and we found the rhythm of connected speech. The final critical factor of pronunciation is this thing called intonation. And that's all about the melody of your voice. Intonation is the rise and fall of your pitch. It's how you add emotion and attitude to your words. It's the difference between sounding like a bored robot and a passionate, interesting human being. Think about the simple word, really. If I say it with a rising tone, really? It sounds like I'm surprised or asking a genuine question. If I say it with a falling tone, really? It sounds like I'm doubtful or unimpressed. If I say it with a fall, rise tone, really? It sounds like I'm intrigued but a little skeptical. One word, 3 different meanings, all because of the melody. In the IELTS speaking test, good intonation shows the examiner you are engaged and expressive. When you tell a story, your voice should go up and down. When you express an opinion, your voice should be firm and confident. A very common trap for test takers is speaking in a flat, monotone voice because they're nervous or trying to recall a memorized answer. This immediately signals to the examiner a lack of naturalness. So even if you get a boring question about, say, bags, pretend it's the most fascinating topic in the world. Use your voice to show interest. "Oh, bags! That's an interesting question. I actually have a favorite backpack that I take everywhere." Your intonation here is the paint that you can use to color your sentences. Use it. Your 3-step pronunciation workout. Okay, we've covered the 4 factors of pronunciation, but knowledge is useless without action. So how do you actually practice this? I want you to think of it like going to the gym. Here's your 3-step workout plan. Step 1, the warm-up, active listening. Don't just have English on in the background. Choose a short 1-minute clip from a podcast, a speech like a TED Talk or a YouTube video. Listen to it once just for a general understanding. Step 2, the main workout, deconstruction. Listen to that same clip again, but this time, listen to it sentence by sentence. Pause after each sentence and ask yourself, which words got the spotlight? Here we're asking about stress. How did the words link together? Now you're asking about connected speech. What was the melody of the sentence? Here you want to know about intonation. Did it go up or down? Step 3, the performance, shadowing. Now play the sentence one more time and immediately try to copy it exactly. This is called shadowing, and there's actually academic research that shows that shadowing can help to improve your English pronunciation. If you want to do some shadowing, then mimic the speaker's stress, rhythm, and intonation like you're their echo. Record yourself doing this and compare it to the original. You'll be shocked at what you discover about your own speech. Doing this workout for just 10 to 15 minutes a day will do more for your pronunciation than hours of passive listening. The SpeakPrac app, your personal pronunciation coach. One of the most powerful features inside the SpeakPrac app is what I call the SpeakPrac Cycle. It's your active feedback loop, and you can take advantage of it. It's designed to be your personal pronunciation coach, available 24/7. And here's how it works. You can either choose a guided IELTS topic or hit the big speak button to talk freestyle about anything you want. You record your speech, and then the magic happens to help you improve your IELTS speaking pronunciation. And by the way, I want you to be able to try this out for yourself. So when you access SpeakPrac, you get a number of free recordings with full access to all the features we're about to discuss. So you can follow along and experience this feedback loop for yourself completely free. The original transcript, your first layer of feedback. So as I mentioned, there are 2 ways to improve your IELTS speaking pronunciation with the SpeakPrac app. You can use the topic screen and talk about a guided topic, or you can choose the speak button, and that allows you to speak in a freestyle mode about anything you want. After you speak, the app then gives you a transcript of what you said. Now, a lot of people skip over this, but this is your first and most honest piece of pronunciation feedback. Think about it. The SpeakPrac app's AI is like a very objective listener. If you mumble, slur your words, or if your accent is unclear, the AI will struggle to understand you, just like a human examiner would. So if you look at your transcript and you see strange or incorrect words, don't automatically blame the app. You should ask yourself, did I speak clearly enough? This original transcript is a direct reflection of how others might perceive your speech, including the IELTS examiner. For the best results, always make sure you record in a quiet area away from background noise and speak loud and clear, just like you would in the real IELTS speaking test. And don't be discouraged if your first few transcripts aren't perfect. That's the starting line. I truly believe that anyone can speak English clearly with the right practice and tools. This is just step 1. The improved audio feature. Once you've reviewed your original transcript, it's time for the next layer of feedback. SpeakPrac gives you your speech metrics. But for pronunciation, the most important tool is the improved audio. After you record, you can listen to your own speech and then listen to a high quality, natural sounding version of your exact words spoken back to you. This isn't a cheap robotic voice. We've built it to sound like a native speaker in the chosen English accent with proper intonation, rhythm, and clarity. And the best part, you choose your model. Are you a male student focusing on a British accent for your IELTS speaking test? Then select UK and male. The improved audio you hear will be a clear male British voice.
Yes, I do exercise regularly. I hit the gym 3 times a week now. I wasn't really doing much before, but lately I've been getting into it to boost my health and general well-being. My main goal is to build some muscle mass, so I'm going pretty frequently.
Are you a female professional targeting an Aussie accent? Then select Australian and female.
I reckon people can really keep their culture and traditions alive in everyday life by spending time with family and getting into those traditions without holding back.
This customization is key because, as we said in my other pronunciation video, consistency is what builds clarity. By practicing with a consistent role model for your English pronunciation, you can train your ear and your mouth on a predictable system of sounds. Interactive workshop. Okay, let's do this together. I'm going to give you a real IELTS Part 1 question. If you have the SpeakPrac app, open it now and get ready to record. If you don't have it yet, just use the voice memo app on your phone. It does have some limitations, so I do recommend though to use the SpeakPrac app. The important thing is to speak out loud and record yourself. Ready? Here's the question. What kind of music do you like? In the SpeakPrac app, you can press on the big orange speak button in the menu bar. I'll give you 30 seconds, and once you're done, press the stop and save button. You can pause this video so that you can focus on speaking and then come back so you know what to do next. Go ahead and answer the question naturally. Go. Great work. Now listen back to your recording. Just listen to yourself. Now here's what the feedback loop looks like in SpeakPrac. Now let's have a listen to my original audio. I am liking many kinds of music, but mostly I listen rock music. It is very energetic for me. As you can see, I deliberately made a number of pronunciation mistakes there, and that was my original audio. Now let's say this student has selected US accent male as their focus. They would tap the improved audio play button and they'd hear this.
I'm really into all kinds of music, but rock is my main go-to. It's got this energy that just pumps me up.
Do you hear the difference? The rhythm is smoother, the intonation is more natural, and the clarity is perfect. This is the pronunciation feedback that you need. So how do you use this? Here are 4 powerful techniques to turn that improved audio into real progress. 1. Compare and contrast. First, the obvious one, listen to your original audio version, then listen to the improved audio version. Go back and forth. Can you spot the differences in individual sounds, word stress, or the overall melody? This first step trains your ear to notice what needs to change. 2. The replay method, or focused repetition. Okay, technique number 2 is the replay method. This might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful ways to rewire your brain for clear English pronunciation that you can use for your IELTS speaking test. The secret isn't just that you replay the audio, but how you replay it. We're turning passive hearing into active, focused listening. And this is inspired by proven language learning techniques from linguists like Dr. Olje Kielen, who emphasizes the power of repeated auditory input. Instead of just listening once, I want you to listen to your full improved audio at least 5 times in a row before you even try to speak again. On each listen, give your brain a specific mission. Listen number 1, the melody. Just focus on the intonation during this first listen. Where does the voice go up? Where does it go down? Listen number 2, the rhythm. Now on this second listening attempt, focus on the stress and connected speech. Which words are loud and strong? Which words are soft and quick? Lesson number 3 to 5, the details. For your other listening sessions, zoom in on a sound you struggle with. A th sound, or the difference between ship and sheep. Listen only for that sound. By replaying with a specific focus each time, you're not just hearing the improved audio, you're imprinting it on your brain. This makes the next 2 techniques 10 times more effective. 3. Shadowing. Now that your brain knows the target, it's time to shadow. This is powerful, and there's a number of academic research that backs up the effectiveness of the shadowing technique. What you do is this: play the improved audio and try to speak at the same time, like you're their echo. Don't worry about being perfect. The goal is to match the rhythm and intonation you just focused on. 4. Listen and repeat. Finally, get granular. Play one phrase from the improved audio, pause it, and repeat it back. Record yourself doing this and compare your repetition to the target audio. This is like your micro workout for specific phrases. Bonus technique: immediately practice new words. Here's one more powerful way to use the SpeakPrac app that connects directly to learning new words and improves your pronunciation. Let's say you're reading and you find a new word, or maybe from your improved audio and improved transcript, you discover the correct pronunciation of a word you've been saying wrong. For example, the word debris. Many people wrongly pronounce the S at the end and they say debris. The correct pronunciation is debris with a silent S. Now, just knowing this isn't enough. You need to use it to own it. This is the perfect time to use the SpeakPrac Freestyle button. Hit Speak from the bottom menu bar, and your only goal for the next 30 seconds is to use that new word, debris, correctly in a few sentences. You'll focus on pronouncing it correctly as well as using it in the right context. For example, you could say, after the storm, there was a lot of debris on the streets. The city sent crews to clear the debris. After they finished cleaning, the streets were a lot cleaner and safer for the pedestrians. Then you get the transcript and the improved audio to check if you said it clearly and naturally in context. The SpeakPrac app can give you this instantly, and that's why it makes it so much better than just a simple recording app on your phone.
After the storm, there was plenty of debris on the streets, so the city sent out crews to clear it up. Once they'd finished cleaning everything, the roads were much cleaner and safer for people walking around.
Now, this simple habit where you find a word, you practice it immediately in a speech, is one of the fastest ways to build both your vocabulary and your pronunciation confidence at the same time. Now, combining all of these pronunciation techniques of comparing, replaying, shadowing, repeating, and immediately practicing new words is how you make real measurable progress with your pronunciation. You're closing the gap between how you think you sound and how a clear native English speaker sounds. The Pronunciation Gym with Anki flashcards. The SpeakPrac app is your practice field for full speeches. But what if you're struggling with the fundamentals? What if the difference between ship and sheep is still too tricky? For that, you need to go to the gym, the Pronunciation Gym. This is where our digital flashcards come in. They're designed for targeted, high repetition training to build your pronunciation muscle memory. Now, we've made these decks specifically for a free program called Anki. If you haven't heard of it, Anki is an incredibly powerful learning tool used by language learners and medical students all over the world. And I personally use Anki myself on a daily basis to learn English and other languages too. Anki's secret is a scientific principle called spaced repetition. Instead of you deciding what to study, Anki's algorithm tracks how well you remember each flashcard. It then shows you the difficult cards more often and the easy cards less often, right before you're about to forget them. And from my experience, and also from the research that backs the Anki algorithm, this is the most efficient way to move information from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. It means less time wasted on things you already know and more time focused on what you need to improve. Our Anki pronunciation decks are designed to plug directly into this powerful system. So we have 3 decks for pronunciation, and each comes in a different English accent, so you can focus on the one that suits you best. First, for those just starting out or wanting a solid review, we have the English alphabet decks for different English accents. These help you master the basic sound of each letter.
A.
But to really level up, you need to understand sound patterns. And for that, we have the IPA pronunciation deck. Now don't worry, this isn't about memorizing a complex chart. Our flashcards teach you how specific letters and letter combinations produce certain sounds.
Comma. Comma.
For example, you'll learn that the F in fish and the PH in phone and the GH in laugh can all make the F sound. This is far more practical for real-world reading and speaking. Now for these pronunciation decks that I'm mentioning, of course, you can go ahead and find textbooks or other resources that teach you the alphabet or the IPA or minimal pairs. However, the problem you'll face is then retaining that information into your head and having an instantaneous response to pronounce it correctly in real life situations. And that's why I strongly recommend using Anki flashcards. Now for my favorite pronunciation workout, minimal pairs. These are pairs of words that differ by only one sound, like thirst and first. Take a listen to this audio.
Mat.
Can you guess which one it is?
Mat. Map.
Now, mastering these is crucial for both your speaking clarity and your listening comprehension. Minimal pairs are so useful because if you can't hear the difference, you can't produce the difference. Now, our minimal pairs flashcards for Anki gives you the most common minimal pairs in English, complete with high quality audio and IPA, so you can train your ears and your mouth. Let's try one right now. I want you to listen carefully to these 2 words. Bin. Bean. Can you hear the subtle difference in the middle? I versus E. The first one, bin, is made by blowing air for a short time only. I. Try it. Bin. The second one, bean, starts with your mouth extending out sideways and producing the sound for a longer time. E. Try it. Bean. Now say the pair out loud. Bin. Bean. Our minimal pair flashcard for bin and bean can be so helpful so that you can hear the difference between those 2 sounds, and that'll help you produce and speak out those sounds clearly. I'm curious, what's the one English sound that you find the most difficult? Let me know in the comments. Now, I mentioned all of the different pronunciation flashcards that you can use with Anki and that we help provide you. However, I do know, and I also suggest that you can check out other textbooks or resources that give you the alphabet, IPA, and minimal pairs. However, the problem with them is that they will not help you retain that information into your head. Taking advantage of Anki's spaced repetition system and our pre-made flashcards gives you a shortcut so that you can just focus on improving your pronunciation straight away and keeping it into your long-term memory. the 4 vocabulary myths that are lowering your IELTS score. Alright, before we can build the right habits, we need to break the wrong ones. Many students believe what I call the vocabulary myths. These are common ideas that sound like good advice, but actually can hurt your score. Let's bust them one by one. Myth 1. You must use big or complex words all the time. This is the biggest trap of all. Students think that they need to speak using all of these long and fancy words like magnanimous or ubiquitous to impress the IELTS speaking examiner. But let me give you an analogy. Using a super complex word you don't fully understand is like wearing a suit to a casual beach barbecue. You might think you look sophisticated, but you actually just look out of place and uncomfortable. The examiner isn't looking for a walking dictionary. They're looking for someone who can communicate clearly and effectively. I'm not saying you shouldn't use big words at all, but don't think you should stuff your responses with those long, complex words, especially when you don't understand them. Anyone can memorize a big word, but very few can use it at the right time in the right way. If you are going to use some of those big or complex words, then make sure you do that. Use it in the right time, in the right way. Myth 2. You must use lots of idioms. I've seen students who turn into idiom machines. They think that if they say, "It's raining cats and dogs," or "I'm on cloud 9" in every answer, they'll automatically get a band 7 or higher. Here's the truth. Native speakers just don't talk like that. They don't include idioms in every single sentence that they say. Sure, native speakers use idioms, but sparingly and when they fit naturally. Trying to memorize all those idioms and then overusing them makes you sound rehearsed, which is the exact opposite of what you want. Myth 3. You cannot repeat words. This piece of advice is just impossible. An IELTS student once told me that his tutor said he couldn't repeat any words. So what do you do when you need to say the or and or I? In his view, you can't use those words more than once. It's ridiculous. Of course, you want to show a good range of vocabulary, but some words don't have perfect synonyms. In an exam, wasting your precious time to search for synonyms for computer or family can hurt your fluency more than just repeating the words would affect your vocabulary score. Myth 4. A long word list is a recipe for success. Now for our final myth, this one is subtle because it starts with a good idea. Many students think if they just learn long lists of words for topics like technology or health, then they'll be prepared for the IELTS speaking exam. Now let me ask you this. If I gave you a list of ingredients, flour, sugar, eggs, butter, does that mean you know how to bake a cake? No. You have the parts, but you don't know the recipe. You don't know how to combine them. Word lists are just ingredients, and we have to remember that. You can memorize fantastic words like sustainability, biodegradable, or carbon footprint. And I actually suggest that you actually do memorize some of those long words. But if you've never practiced combining them into a real sentence, you can't bake the cake in the exam. You just have a pile of ingredients that you don't know what to do with. This is the trap. You feel productive memorizing the word list, but you haven't built the speaking skill. In the exam, you'll hesitate, use the words awkwardly, and sound unnatural. All of these myths come from a place of fear. The fear that your own natural way of speaking isn't good enough. But it can be, and I believe that. The goal is not to sound like a textbook, it's to sound like you, but with more confidence and clarity. Because anyone can speak English. The secret isn't collecting more and more words. It's learning how to use the words you learn with skill and confidence. The goal isn't just to gather ingredients. The goal is to learn the recipe, to learn how to combine these words smoothly and confidently. And that brings us to a much smarter way, the MAP method. So if endless memorizing of word lists is out, then what's in? Instead of just collecting more and more words like souvenirs you never look at, you need a system to truly own them. This is my strongest recommendation. It's called the MAP method. The idea is simple. For every new word you decide to learn, you create a map for it. This map will show you exactly how to navigate with that word in a real conversation and for your real IELTS speaking test. The letters MAP stand for M, master. First, master the word's core meaning. This is the foundation of your map. You need to know its meaning, not just one definition, but its different shades of meaning. Its grammar. Is it a verb, a noun, or adjective? Does it need a preposition after it? Its pronunciation. Say it out loud. If you can't say it, you can't use it. A. Associate. Next, associate the word. A word in English doesn't live on an island. It lives in a neighborhood. You need to map its connections. Associate new English words with other words. These are collocations, the words that it's friends with. We often say strong coffee, not powerful coffee. We make a decision, not do a decision. Also, associate new words with situations. This is context. You need to understand, is this word formal, informal, or neutral? Remember that analogy I gave you with the suit at the barbecue, at the beach? P, practice. Finally, practice speaking the new word. A map is useless if you never go on the journey. You have to take your new word for a test drive. So practice using it in sentences. Talk to a study partner, a tutor, or just record yourself. I've even made some speaking tools for you so you can practice those new words you've learned. Make mistakes. That's how you learn. This active practice moves the word from your passive memory to your active, ready-to-use vocabulary. Why the MAP method works. Now, this method that I came up with and I'm sharing with you is so effective because it forces you to go deep. It's built on active learning, not passive memorizing. Learning just 5 words a day this way is 1,000 times more effective for your speaking than trying to memorize a long list of 50 words that you'll forget by next week. 4 key techniques to master in your answers. Okay, now that you have the MAP method for learning new English words, let's look at 4 specific techniques the examiner is listening for. Technique 1, using natural sounding language or idiomatic language. The official IELTS speaking criteria mention idiomatic language. This does not just mean idioms. It means language that is natural and correct for a native speaker. This includes phrasal verbs, words like look up to, which can mean to admire, end up, which can mean to finally be in a place or a situation, or to cut back on, which can mean to reduce. Collocations, those word partnerships we just talked about in the associate step. Examiners want to see that you use collocations like heavy traffic, deeply concerned, make progress, natural expressions. Examiners look for things like to be honest, or I guess you could say that. So focus on learning a handful of versatile phrasal verbs that you're 100% comfortable with. Technique 2, unlocking your hidden vocabulary or less common words. The term less common vocabulary scares a lot of students. It doesn't mean super difficult academic words. It simply means words that are far less common for a learner at a basic level. Instead of saying, it was good, you could say, it was enjoyable, fantastic, fascinating, or thought-provoking. These aren't complex words, but they are more precise. The key is to have confidence in the words you already know. Technique 3, the power of word partnerships, collocations. I'm mentioning this again because it's just so important. Collocations are the glue that holds natural language together. Using them correctly is one of the clearest signs of a high-level English speaker. You don't do a mistake, you make a mistake. You don't have strong rain, you have heavy rain. When you use the map method, you are automatically learning a word's collocations in the associate step. This is how you avoid sounding like you've just swallowed a dictionary. Technique 4, becoming a language chameleon, or paraphrasing. The ability to say the same thing in different ways is a hallmark of an advanced speaker. This is a superpower in the IELTS test. Paraphrasing is all about saying things in a roundabout way. It's great because first, it saves you when your mind goes blank. And if you're like me, sometimes that can happen when you're stuck for words. If the examiner asks about your job and you can't think of the word accountant, you can say, well, I work with numbers all day. I help companies manage their finances and so on. Here, even though you didn't know or you forgot the word accountant, you've communicated perfectly. Second, paraphrasing is great because it shows flexibility. When the examiner asks a question, you can gently rephrase it. Examiner, what do you think is the best way to stay healthy? You, well, in my opinion, the most effective approach to maintaining good health involves a mix of... You see how in this example, you just listened to what the examiner said and then you just said it back to them, but in a different way. Doing this once or twice shows the examiner you have a flexible command of the language. The SpeakPrac Cycle, your active feedback loop. The single most effective way to improve your vocabulary for the IELTS speaking test is to create an active feedback loop. I like to call this the SpeakPrac Cycle. It looks like this. You speak, you then analyze your speech, you find areas to improve, and next you immediately practice again, incorporating what you learned. This cycle builds active vocabulary faster than any other method. Let's walk through one full cycle using the SpeakPrac app. Step 1. Your first practice speech. Let's do a practice speech right now using the SpeakPrac app. You can use the topic screen and select a pre-written topic in question for guided practice, Or you can choose the speak button in the middle of the bottom menu bar to speak about any topic you want. This is great for more freestyle speaking practice. Now pause this video and go ahead and do your first practice speech. You should speak for at least 30 seconds and then you can come back to this video so you can find out what to do next to improve your vocabulary. Step 2, self-diagnosis with SpeakPrac. Okay, speech done. The SpeakPrac app has instantly transcribed it and given me my metrics. Now for the most important part, the analysis. The first thing is to look at the original transcript. You'll see that under the original tab text. There's also a play button there so that I can listen to my original recording. So I read my own words and listen back to the audio. And I ask myself, did that sound natural? Could I have worded that differently? This is where you become your own coach at first. For example, I said certain things that were too simple. That's okay, but it'll bring down my IELTS speaking score, and it doesn't quite capture the complexity of the feeling I wanted to convey. And now for the awesomeness of the SpeakPrac app. I tap on the improved transcript. You can see this under the improved tab text. Here, the app gives me suggestions for how a native speaker might have phrased it. You can see how it transformed my very simple sentences to much richer content that would elevate my IELTS band score. It gives me ideas for vocabulary that are more precise or more sophisticated, but still sound natural. Now here's another way that SpeakPrac can help your vocabulary. I want you to use the Quick Tips feature, and especially pay attention to the vocabulary section. This is where the app pinpoints your priority vocabulary issues. The Quick Tips analyze your entire speech and identify the most impactful vocabulary upgrades you can make. Instead of overwhelming you with dozens of suggestions, it focuses on the words that will have the biggest impact on your score. Look at this. The vocabulary section has identified some higher band words that could replace my more basic phrases. This is important because it shows me exactly the kind of sophisticated vocabulary that IELTS speaking examiners are listening for, but still trying to keep it as natural sounding as possible. So this is your personalized feedback based on your speech patterns. The SpeakPrac app isn't just giving you random vocabulary, just like in a textbook or in a dictionary. The SpeakPrac app is identifying the specific words that will upgrade your way of speaking. Now that's the difference between generic study and targeted improvement. Step 3, learn and practice a new word. It's your turn. Now this is where the feedback loop closes. We found a new word or some words that the SpeakPrac app suggested to us. So now we need to practice it to make it our own. We'll use the MAP method or MAP method we talked about in the other IELTS speaking vocabulary video. Remember the MAP method? M, master. We master the meaning and pronunciation of new words we encounter. A, associate. We then associate it with situations. And in our case, since we use the word in a speech, we can then associate that word in that context. P, practice. Now we practice that word by speaking it. This is your turn. I want you to do a practice speech right now. Open the SpeakPrac app or just speak out loud to your screen. If you do have the SpeakPrac app, then you can use the SpeakPrac button so you can freely practice any new words you learned. And what's great with the app, again, is that you can get instant feedback, a transcript, and metrics. When you do your practice speech, your goal is to use the new words you learned just once or twice in your response. Don't force it. Just tell a story and I'll give you 30 seconds to speak. When you're done, in the SpeakPrac app, you can press the stop and save button. So pause this video and do that right now, then come back so you know what to do next. Ready? Go! Great job! See how that works? You take your own speech, you find one or two things to improve, especially in terms of vocabulary, and then you immediately practice speaking again. Doing this just a few times a week will surely transform your active speaking vocabulary. Systematic vocabulary building with Anki. The feedback loop in the SpeakPrac app is perfect for practicing words you discover. But what about finding the right words to learn in the first place? How do you systematically build a high band vocabulary? For that, I highly recommend using a tool called Anki, combined with our pre-made digital flashcard decks. I've used Anki for many years, and I consider myself a bit of an expert with Anki, and I've actually learned other languages to fluency using this system. And if you don't know, Anki is a spaced repetition system. It's like smart flashcards. It learns how well you know each word, and it shows it to you right before you're about to forget it. It's incredibly efficient for moving words into your long-term memory. Anki is free, so you can actually make IELTS vocabulary flashcards yourself. But the problem is, making good flashcards takes a lot of time, so we did the work for you. We created the IELTS English Vocabulary Flashcards Bundle. And it's got 3 decks, each designed for a specific stage of your IELTS vocabulary journey. Deck 1 is the IELTS Essential Vocabulary deck. This is your foundation. It's based on the top 2,000 most frequently used words in English. And there's actually academic research that shows that mastering these words is crucial for clear communication in English.
Give your opinion. Opinion. Give your opinion.
Deck 2 is the IELTS Advanced Vocabulary deck. This is where you start climbing to the higher IELTS bands. It's built on the next block of most frequent words from 2001 to 5000, and these are the less common words that the IELTS speaking examiner is listening for that will surely push you towards a band 6, 7, or even 8.
Comprehensive. Comprehensive. The guide provides a comprehensive overview.
Finally, Deck 3 is the IELTS Academic Vocabulary deck. This is for students aiming for the top scores. It's based on the official academic word list, the vocabulary you need for university and professional settings. Now, there was some research on this from linguistics researchers out of New Zealand that showed that using this academic word list will help you cover a lot of the academic vocabulary you need for speaking and writing, even listening and reading. These words allow you to discuss abstract topics with precision, and they're certainly key for hitting that band 8 or 9. Now, the best part of the Anki decks and the SpeakPrac app is that you can use these two methods together. For example, if you learn the word comprehensive from the IELTS vocabulary flashcard deck, then you can practice speaking that word too using the SpeakPrac app. You can learn a new word from the Anki decks.
Comprehensive.
Then open up SpeakPrac and use the speak button to do a freestyle speech about that new word. Then you get feedback and then you continue the loop. All the while you're systematically building up your vocabulary to those higher IELTS speaking bands. When you combine these methods like that, that's how you truly make a word your own. Your action plan. All right, that was our workshop. We covered 2 powerful practical methods. Method 1, the SpeakPrac Cycle, your active feedback loop. Record yourself, analyze your transcripts, and practice new words immediately. You can do this with your phone recorder app, but the SpeakPrac app is much better at giving you transcripts, metrics, topics, and feedback. Method 2, systematic learning. Use spaced repetition to consistently learn the most important vocabulary for your target band score. Check out our IELTS Anki flashcard decks that save you time and effort. And remember that when you encounter important new English words, don't just learn them passively. Practice using those words in your speech, and that'll help increase your IELTS speaking score, especially the part about lexical resource or vocabulary. Hi, I'm Matt from SpeakPrac. I recently did the IELTS test and I scored a band 9 in speaking. On top of that, I got a band 9 for grammatical range and accuracy. So what I'm teaching in this course, it's based on my real experience and it's proven under the exam pressure. I know what works and I want to share that with you to help you too. This video is part of the Ultimate IELTS English Speaking course. And here we will reframe the way you think about grammar. We'll bust common myths, build a new mindset, and I'll provide you practical tools that can help improve your IELTS grammar score without sounding like a grammar robot. Don't forget, this video is part of my Ultimate IELTS English Speaking course, which is 100% free. You can go to the central hub page of this course at speakprac.com/IELTS Speaking course, and there you'll find all the course materials, a structure of the lessons, and everything you need. The link is on screen and in the description below. The grammar trap. The biggest mistake I see students make is falling into what I call the grammar trap. Imagine you're learning to drive a car. The grammar trap is like spending all your time staring at the gear stick, panicking about whether you're in first or second gear. What happens when you do that? You forget to look at the road. You can't steer properly and you eventually crash. In the IELTS speaking test, this crash is getting a low score in fluency, pronunciation, and even vocabulary because you're so mentally paralyzed by grammar rules. You're trying to be a grammar robot instead of a human communicator. The IELTS speaking examiner isn't looking for a robot. They're trained to assess how well you can communicate. So let's break down the 3 biggest myths that lead students into this grammar trap. Myth busting, what the examiner really wants. The official IELTS Speaking Band Descriptors mention 3 key things for grammar: using a range of structures, using complex sentences, and producing error-free sentences. And this is where the misunderstanding begins. Myth 1. A range of structures means using every single tense that you know. Students hear range and they think they need to create a checklist. They think, okay, I've used the past perfect, now I need to force in a conditional, then maybe a future perfect continuous. This is totally unnatural. Think of grammar like a painter's palette. A great artist doesn't just splash every single color onto their canvas at once. That would be a mess. They choose the right colors to paint the picture they want to create. In your IELTS speaking test, the examiner's question is the picture you need to paint. Your job is to listen carefully and use the appropriate grammatical colors or tenses to answer that question clearly. If they ask about your childhood, you'll naturally use past tenses. If they ask about your future plans, you'll naturally use future forms. Don't force it. Just respond. Myth 2. Complex sentences means I have to use long, complicated sentences. This is the most damaging myth of all. In everyday conversation, complex can mean complicated or difficult. But in grammar, a complex sentence is a technical term with a simple meaning. It does not mean complicated. Think of sentences like toy blocks. A simple sentence is one block with one idea, like, I like coffee. A complicated sentence is when you try to sound impressive by cramming too much into one place, like smashing random blocks together. For example, my preference, which has developed over many years, is for coffee, a beverage that, when consumed in the morning, has the effect of assisting me in achieving a state of wakefulness. Sounds fancy, but that's messy and confusing. Avoid this. A complex sentence, on the other hand, is simply connecting two or more blocks of ideas neatly using simple connecting words, such as because, which, while, when, if, although. Now take these simple ideas. I like coffee. I drink it in the morning. It helps me wake up for work. When they're by themselves, they're just simple sentences. But you can connect them like this. I like drinking coffee in the morning because it helps me wake up for work. That's it. A perfect, high-scoring, complex sentence. It's clear, natural, and logical. Your goal isn't to sound impressive with complicated sentences. It's to connect your ideas clearly using words like because, if, and while. That's what the examiner is truly listening for. Myth 3. Error-free sentences means your grammar must be 100% perfect. Let me tell you a secret. IELTS Band 9 students make mistakes. I make mistakes myself when I speak. Even the Queen or King of England makes grammatical slip-ups in conversation. It's a natural part of spontaneous speech. IELTS knows this. They are not expecting robotic perfection. The difference between a Band 6 and a Band 8 isn't about making 0 mistakes. It's about the type and frequency of mistakes. Do your mistakes prevent the examiner from understanding you? If you make a small error, a small slip-up with an article, or the, but your message is perfectly clear, that's a minor issue. If you use the wrong tense and the examiner can't figure out if you're talking about yesterday or tomorrow, now that's a major issue. So let go of this perfection myth. It's better to speak fluently with a few minor slips than to be slow and hesitant while searching for the perfect sentence that never comes. Look, the reason we break down these myths is to get to one simple, powerful truth. It's not about being a genius, and it's not about being perfect, because with the right mindset and the right tools, anyone can speak English. It all starts with how you think. So let's get you that mindset. The communicator's mindset, a 3-step strategy. Okay, so if the old way is a grammar trap, what's the new way forward? It's what I call the communicator's mindset. It has 3 core principles. First, communication is your North Star. Your number 1 job in the test is to communicate your ideas to the examiner. Every time you open your mouth, ask yourself, is what I'm saying clear? Am I answering the question? Grammar should serve your communication, not the other way around. Second, grammar is the foundation, not the whole building. Think of building a house. Your grammar is the concrete foundation. It needs to be strong and solid. Absolutely. But you don't win an award for having the best looking foundation. You win for the beautiful functional house you build on top of it. That's your fluency, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, and your ideas. Focus on building the whole house. Third, be a grammar detective, not a grammar prisoner. Instead of being terrified of mistakes, get curious about them. Most students don't make 100 different grammar mistakes. They tend to make the same 3 or 4 mistakes over and over again. These are your repeat offenders. Your mission, my friend, is to become a detective. Record yourself answering some practice questions. You can use your phone's microphone, or you can use our SpeakPrac app to help you. Then listen back carefully to your recording. What are your personal repeat grammar offenders? Is it subject-verb agreement? Is it using articles? Is it the past simple tense? Find your top 2 to 3 and focus intensely on fixing just those. They'll be your top priorities. Fixing a few common grammar errors will have a massive impact on your score. Your grammar toolkit, practical skills. Now let's get even more practical. Let's fill your toolkit with the most essential IELTS speaking grammar structures you'll need. The most powerful technique I can teach you is something I call the mirroring technique. It's simple. Listen to the grammar in the examiner's question and mirror it back in your answer. This ensures you're using the correct tense from the get-go. Let's see it in action. If the examiner asks, using present perfect continuous tense, how long have you been learning English? A great answer mirrors this. And you can say, I've been learning English since I was in high school, so it's been about 10 years now. You see, you've perfectly mirrored the tense. It's simple and effective. If the examiner asks, using future tense with will, how do you think technology will change our lives in the next 20 years? A great answer mirrors this too. You can say, I believe that AI will become much more integrated into our daily routines. And I also think more people will work from home. Again, you've just used their structure as your guide. This isn't cheating, it's just smart communication. You do this naturally already in your own language. Now just do it consciously in English. Beyond tenses, you'll need to handle common question types. You don't need fancy phrases, just solid, simple structures. For opinions, you can use the structures, I think that, in my view, I strongly believe. For cause and effect, use words like because, as a result, which leads to. For hypotheticals, say, if I had the chance, I would, or if the government invested more, it would. Then for comparing, use these phrases. So-and-so is more interesting than. On the other hand, but on the other hand. Now the key is to combine these. For example, I think that city life is much more exciting than country life because there are always new things to do and new people to meet. There you can see I've used structures for my opinion, for comparing, and for the cause. See, you just used 3 different structures in one clear, fluent sentence. That is high-level grammar in action. So let's bring it all together. The SpeakPrac Cycle, your active feedback loop. The fastest way to improve your English grammar isn't by reading more grammar textbooks. It's by creating an active feedback loop. We call this the SpeakPrac Cycle. It looks like this. You speak, you analyze your speech, you find areas to improve, and then you immediately practice speaking again, incorporating what you learned. This cycle builds grammatical accuracy faster than any other method. Now you can try to do this using your phone's recorder app, but a generic voice recording app has lots of limits. So I personally recommend the SpeakPrac app because it comes with IELTS speaking feedback automatically built in. Let's walk through one full cycle using the SpeakPrac app. I'm going to give you a simple IELTS Part 1 style question. I want you to pause this video and answer it out loud for 15 to 30 seconds. If you have the SpeakPrac app, even better, record your answer using the speak button and press stop and save when you're done. Ready? Question: what do you usually do on the weekends? Okay, go ahead. I'll wait. Pause the video and be sure to come back so that you can figure out what you need to do next to improve your grammar. All right, welcome back. Now, let's say you gave an answer like this. On weekends, I like to relax. I watch movies. I meet my friends. Sometimes I go to a coffee shop. It is a good way to rest after a busy week. Now, this is an okay answer. It's clear and it does answer the question, but to get a higher band score, we need to add more grammatical range and complexity. That's what this pillar of the IELTS speaking marking criteria is all about. And so if you want to do that, this is where the feedback loop of the SpeakPrac cycle begins. Inside the SpeakPrac app, after you finish speaking, you get instant feedback. Let's walk through the SpeakPrac cycle, which acts as your active feedback loop. Step 1. Self-diagnose with the original transcript. First, look at your original transcript. Listen back to your own voice. You might hear things you didn't notice while speaking. Perhaps you used very simple grammar or you made a number of grammar mistakes. In our example, all the sentences that I used are simple. I said, I watch movies. I meet my friends. This is a key area for improvement. Step 2, get inspiration from the improved transcript. Next, swipe over to the improved transcript. This isn't just about finding mistakes. It's about getting inspiration. The SpeakPrac app might suggest something like this.
On weekends, I'm all about relaxing. I usually catch up on some movies or meet up with friends. Yeah, hanging out at a cafe for a coffee and a chat is a real highlight. Sometimes we just kick back and chill for a few hours.
Can you see the difference between the improved version of the answer and the original answer? In the improved version, ideas are connected much better using connector words. There's much more grammatical range and complexity. This is exactly what examiners mean by grammatical range. You're not just listing ideas, you're linking them. Step 3, use the quick tips to find your priority. Don't get overwhelmed trying to fix every single grammar mistake at once. Go to the quick tips section and look at the grammar suggestion. The app is designed to pinpoint one high priority issue. And here's one issue that we can focus on to improve my grammar. So make sure to do all of this to get better grammar feedback on your speeches. This is your mission. Active practice closing the loop. You've now found a new grammar structure, a specific tool to add to your toolbox. The absolute worst thing you can do now is to just nod and move on. The key, my friends, is to close the feedback loop of the SpeakPrac cycle. You need to make that new structure yours by speaking it and immediately practicing the grammar that you've learned. This is where the speak button in the app on the bottom menu becomes your best friend. Let's say, as an example, your quick tip was about using the word although. Your task is simple. You hit that speak button and just freestyle. Talk about your day, your city, your job, anything. But your only goal is to use the new grammar word and connecting word, although, and use it once or twice. You can use it like this. Today was a pretty good day. I had a lot of work to do, although I managed to finish it all before 5 p.m. I'm thinking of getting pizza for dinner, although I should probably eat something healthier. I have gained a bit of weight in the past few months. And that's it. It doesn't have to be a perfect speech. You're just taking that new grammar rule for a test drive. You do this a few times and that grammar structure moves from a rule you know in your head to a tool you can use without thinking. Because with the right tools and the right method, I truly believe that anyone can speak English. The key is the SpeakPrac Cycle, which acts as your feedback loop for spoken grammar success. Speak, analyze, improve, and then immediately speak again to practice the grammar that you learned. Systematic improvement with Anki flashcards. The SpeakPrac Cycle is incredible for improving based on your own speech. But what if you want to systematically learn all the essential grammar rules for IELTS from the ground up? That's where our second tool comes in, our digital grammar flashcards for Anki. If you don't know, Anki is a powerful free app that uses a science-based algorithm called spaced repetition to help you memorize things efficiently. You can make your own Anki flashcards for free, but if you want to speed things up, then consider this. We created a comprehensive grammar bundle designed specifically for IELTS students. It's called the IELTS English Grammar Flashcards Bundle, and it's broken down into 3 decks based on your target band score. First, there's the IELTS Essential Grammar Flashcards, bands 1 to 3 deck. This is perfect if you're just starting or if you want to revise some of the foundational grammar rules that you may have forgotten. This deck will help you build your foundation, focusing on core sentence structures, tenses, and subject-verb agreement, among others. Next is the IELTS Intermediate Grammar Flashcards for bands 4 to 6. Now this deck is all about moving beyond simple structures. It teaches you how to use connecting words, conditionals, and different clauses to build those high-scoring, complex sentences that we talked about. You need to know how to use these so you can boost your IELTS speaking score in terms of the grammatical range and accuracy score. And finally, we have the IELTS Advanced Grammar Flashcards, bands 7 to 9. This is for students aiming for the top bands. It helps you master sophisticated structures, refine your accuracy, and use nuanced grammar for precise communication. Now here's the best part of all of this. You can integrate these Anki flashcards directly into your SpeakPrac cycle. The flashcards contribute to your active feedback loop where you speak, analyze, improve. This is what I mean. When you learn a new rule from an Anki flashcard, don't just memorize it. Open the SpeakPrac app, hit the speak button, and use that rule in a real spoken sentence or story. That's how you truly master it. And of course, you don't have to use Anki or our flashcards if you don't want to. It's just an option that I highly recommend because I use Anki daily myself to learn languages. Instead, you can also use a comprehensive English grammar textbook. And I know that there are also some people who just prefer learning grammar through simply immersing themselves in more English content like reading books or watching shows, and that's totally fine. Whichever way you learn new grammar, I just want to emphasize that you can practice it by opening the SpeakPrac app, hitting the speak button, and using that grammar rule in spoken sentences. Then you can get instant feedback. So there you have it, my friends. 2 powerful, practical ways to actively improve your grammar for the IELTS speaking test. 1. Use the SpeakPrac app and take advantage of the SpeakPrac cycle. This acts as your active feedback loop. Record yourself, use the original and improved transcripts to identify areas for growth, check out the quick tips, and immediately practice those new structures by speaking them out loud. 2. Systematically build your knowledge with our IELTS Grammar Flashcards bundle for Anki, targeting the specific level you need to reach your goal. So now you have the examiner's secret playbook. You know what those examiners are listening for in terms of fluency, pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. Now this isn't just theory. I put this into practice myself. Now you know the framework of how examiners exactly think, and you can use that to your advantage to get yourself a high band score too. This is what helped me get that Band 9 in speaking. So it's proven, it's effective, and it's a key that can unlock your highest potential. Remember, this video is just one piece of the full course, the Ultimate IELTS English Speaking course. You can check out all the lessons and other resources at speakprac.com/IELTS Speaking course. But knowing the speaking IELTS criteria is one thing. Knowing how to start the IELTS speaking test is another thing. And how you handle those first few moments or even seconds with your IELTS speaking examiner can set the whole tone for your speaking test. And that's what we'll talk about in our next video. There, I'll show you how you can master IELTS speaking part 1, so you go into that speaking test room with much more confidence. You won't want to miss that video.